The world is not against you, but your mind might be. It draws conclusions too quickly. It interprets silence as rejection, obstacles as personal attacks, and temporary setbacks as permanent truths. This doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. The mind is a meaning-making machine. It takes fragments of experience and weaves them into a story. But the story isn't always accurate, and often it isn't kind. You walk into a room and someone doesn't smile at you. The voice in your head begins to spin. You wonder if you've done something wrong. You feel a shift inside, as if something is off, but you can't name it. That one moment becomes a seed, and that seed grows into a story. They're mad at me. I've offended them. Maybe I don't belong here. And that story changes how you stand, how you speak, how you see. This is how perception creates suffering, not because of what happened, but because of what you told yourself about what happened. Epictetus said, "It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." The world simply moves, events unfold, but your reaction, your interpretation, becomes your experience. Most people don't realize they're living in an interpretation. They think they're seeing the world, but they're really seeing their lens, their conditioning, their beliefs about what people mean, what success looks like, what failure says about them. And unless that lens is examined, it controls everything. Not because it's true, but because it's automatic. You start filtering the world through the story you carry. If you believe the world is cold, you'll only see coldness. If you believe people are selfish, you'll spot every selfish act. If you think nothing ever works out for you, your mind will highlight every obstacle as proof. And this isn't because the world is against you. It's because your perception is selecting what to see. Your perception becomes your prison. Not because the world built the walls, but because your beliefs did. The moment you decide something about yourself or others, the mind starts looking for confirmation. It gathers evidence, ignores contradiction, and builds a case. And soon, you're no longer responding to life as it is. You're reacting to the version of life your mind constructed. Imagine carrying around a lens tinted with fear. Every neutral moment begins to look threatening. Every silence feels like disapproval. Every slow response becomes an insult. But the world hasn't changed. Your lens has. And if you don't know the lens is there, you'll spend your life fighting shadows that don't exist. This is how people end up exhausted. Not from life itself, but from the stories they carry. They relive past failures every time they try something new. They assume rejection before anyone says a word. They see closed doors even when a window is open. The mind says, "This is how it always goes." And because it feels familiar, they believe it. But just because something feels familiar doesn't make it true. Nietzsche said, "There are no facts, only interpretations." That doesn't mean reality is meaningless. It means our experience of reality is shaped by the meaning we assign. Two people can go through the same event and walk away with completely different truths. One sees defeat, the other sees a lesson. One sees betrayal, the other sees freedom. The event doesn't change, the perception does. And this is where your power lies. Not in controlling what happens, but in shifting how you see. The world is full of things you cannot control. But your inner world, your perception, your reaction, your story, is yours to examine. The moment you realize that your interpretation is not absolute truth, you create space. And in that space, suffering begins to dissolve. Most people never question the voice in their head. They hear it speak and they obey. It tells them they aren't good enough and they shrink. It tells them they're being judged and they hide. It tells them they're failing and they stop trying. The voice becomes the law. But it's not the law, it's a program written by your past, shaped by fear, and fueled by repetition. The truth is, you don't have to believe everything you think. Just because the voice says it doesn't mean it's real. The mind speaks in absolutes, always, never, everyone, no one. But life isn't made of absolutes. Life is made of nuance, mystery, and change. And the more rigid you're thinking, the more disconnected you become from the truth. You may carry a story that says you're always left out. But is that true? Or is it a lens you've worn for so long that now it feels like reality? You may believe nothing ever works out for you, but are you remembering the exceptions? Are you seeing the whole picture? The voice in your head isn't interested in balance. It's interested in survival. And it survives by convincing you it's right. This is why awareness is the beginning of freedom. When you start to notice your thoughts without immediately believing them, something changes. You become the observer instead of the puppet. You create space between stimulus and response. And in that space, you begin to realize, I am not my thoughts. I am the one who sees them. Marcus Aurelius said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. But you are not the dye, you are the fabric. And fabric can be cleaned, restored, renewed. You don't have to carry every fear forward. You don't have to treat every thought like a command. You can choose which ones to believe and which ones to release. You may not have chosen your first beliefs, they were passed to you by parents, teachers, media, and early wounds. Maybe you learned that love has to be earned. Maybe you were taught that silence means rejection. Maybe every failure was punished so deeply that you began to fear trying. And now, as an adult, you carry these inherited scripts without even realizing it. But here's the truth. You are not responsible for the beliefs you inherited. You are responsible for the ones you choose to keep. Growth doesn't always mean learning something new. Sometimes it means unlearning something false. And the first falsehood to question is the belief that the world is hostile, that life is a test you're failing, that others are threats, and that you're not enough. The world can be difficult, yes, but difficulty is not the same as cruelty. Life has storms, but storms are not aimed at you. Rain doesn't fall to ruin your day. Winds don't blow to destroy your path. The universe doesn't single you out. It moves according to deeper rhythms, cycles, seasons, causes beyond your knowing. When something happens, it's tempting to take it personally, but most of it isn't personal, it's simply life. The more you center yourself in a story of victimhood, the more everything feels like an attack. A delayed response becomes disrespect. A canceled plan becomes abandonment. A challenge becomes a punishment. But what if the universe isn't punishing you? It's prompting you. What if every disruption is an invitation to see more clearly, to soften your grip, to grow? When you stop believing the world is against you, something amazing happens. You start to see neutrality where you once saw hostility. You start to interpret discomfort as opportunity. You start to live from curiosity instead of fear. And the voice in your head? It starts to lose its power. Because it feeds on your unconscious agreement. Without it, it weakens.
This shift in perception doesn't happen overnight. The voice in your head has been rehearsing its lines for years. It knows your insecurities. It knows how to sound convincing. And sometimes it will even sound like truth. But truth doesn't shame. Truth doesn't belittle. Truth doesn't keep you stuck. That's how you know the difference. The voice of perception restricts you. The voice of awareness liberates you. Rumi wrote, "Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure. But you cannot find the cure while clinging to the wound. You must be willing to see the story for what it is, a protective mechanism, not a prophecy. The voice that says you'll never make it is trying to shield you from disappointment. But in doing so, it's also shielding you from possibility. And so you begin to practice a different kind of listening. A listening that is gentle but firm. You hear the voice, and you say, I see you. I know where you come from, but I don't have to follow you. You treat the thought like a passing cloud, something observed, but not absorbed. Something noted, but not obeyed. This is not denial. This is discipline. It's retraining the mind to speak in clarity, not fear. It's replacing assumption with inquiry. Instead of, they don't like me, you ask, what else could be true? Instead of, I always fail, you ask, what am I learning here? It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about seeing that even imperfection has purpose. Lao Tzu taught that when you let go of what you are, you become what you might be. When you release the need to protect yourself from imagined threats, you open the door to real freedom. You begin to realize, the world wasn't attacking me. I was defending myself from ghosts. And now, with more awareness, more stillness, you stop reacting. You start responding. You stop bracing. You start breathing. Freedom doesn't mean the voice disappears. It means you no longer treat it like truth. It still speaks, but now you hear it differently, like background noise, like a character you once believed but have now outgrown. You smile at it. You let it speak. And then you move forward anyway. This is the shift from survival to sovereignty. From being pushed around by thought to becoming grounded in awareness. From assuming the worst to allowing life to surprise you. You don't control the world, but you begin to steer your attention. And that changes everything. Viktor Frankl, a man who survived unthinkable suffering, wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. That space is perception. And when you expand it, when you interrupt the automatic story, you reclaim your ability to see clearly. Seeing clearly doesn't mean bypassing pain. It means feeling it honestly without dramatizing it. It means acknowledging the moment without letting it define your identity. A breakup isn't the end of love. A mistake isn't the end of growth. A delay isn't the end of possibility. It's only the voice that says this is the end, and it only wins if you believe it. You've lived long enough with that inner narration. Long enough with the voice that turns shadows into monsters, detours into doom. You've heard it say you're not enough 1,000 times. Maybe it's time to stop answering. Maybe it's time to walk past it. Maybe it's time to trust a deeper knowing, the quiet one, the patient one, the one that doesn't shout. The world is what it is. Some days are hard. People leave. Plans fail. But that doesn't mean the universe is against you. It means you're alive. It means you're in motion. And it means you're being shaped into someone who can hold more, feel more, and need less fear to survive. You are not your thoughts. You are the sky they pass through. You are not the fear. You are the space holding it. You are not the voice that predicts doom, that replays failure, that assumes the worst. You are the awareness hearing it all, choosing what stays and what fades. So when life gets quiet and the voice gets loud, pause. Listen. Not to believe, but to understand. Ask yourself, who is speaking? Where did this voice begin? Is it protecting me or limiting me? Is it helping me grow or keeping me small? You are not here to argue with the voice. You are here to outgrow it. To see it as one version of truth, not the whole. To stand in front of it and say, I see you, I've heard you, but I choose another path. And then take that path even if your hands shake, even if your voice trembles, even if you're not sure where it leads. Because courage is not the absence of doubt. It is the refusal to be governed by it. This is the quiet revolution. Not fighting the world, but healing your perception of it. Not waiting for the universe to prove you're safe, but realizing you already are. Not needing constant reassurance from outside, but building trust from within. The world was never against you. Your lens was simply clouded. And now, with each breath, each moment of awareness, that lens clears. You start seeing people not as threats, but as mirrors. You start seeing obstacles not as punishment, but as practice. You stop resisting life and start meeting it. This is not the end of the voice. It will return. But so will your clarity. So will your stillness. So will your choice to remember, I am not at war with the world. I am awakening from the war within. And as that awakening deepens, the world changes not because it was against you, but because you are finally seeing it as it truly is.